University. So they're all over there in the recreation room I described to you. Now I went in there and they were having a kegger, which they will do. They did it back then, they do it now. They will always be drinking in college. I don't think the continual emphasis on drinking in college put out through the media is doing anybody any good. It should be stopped, but the only way of stopping that would be censorship. And the worst thing I believe in is, censorship is my worst enemy, my worst nightmare. I believe in freedom of speech, which means I believe I am free to say anything I want to. Politically correct, offensive, hell. I wouldn't want to say those things if they weren't. That's the whole point of saying them. Don't you understand that? Okay, here I am, and I go in with the elite crowd there, the upper crust, and I start drinking beer. They hand me a beer, I start drinking. And they're not shocked because they don't know me anyway. I'm just one of those hippies. But I was a full-service hippie at that time. I call it hedonism on a budget. I took mescaline that was free. I smoked some weed that was free, and then I went over and got drunk on beer, and it was free. Now, about the time I was finishing up on getting drunk on beer, I was back up. About the time I finished up getting drunk on beer, the mescaline was hitting me real hard, and so I ended up 14 hours later. 14 hours later, I woke up on the ground in the middle of the campus of George Peabody College for teachers, and they had the old type of campus where all the buildings were down the side around this one major green that stretched out forever, like 3 or 4 football fields or whatever. I'm laying on my back on the grass, looking up at the sun and the sky, and it's about 1 o'clock, something like that. I had started out about 10 o'clock the night before, so that was about right. I was laying on my back, but somehow at the same time I was clinging to the earth beneath me. But things were beginning to settle down. Coming down is one of the saddest parts of drug use. Christopherson really hit the nail on the head with his Sunday Morning Coming Down. It's one of the best songs ever written about Nashville, Tennessee, ever by anyone. And I have great respect for that man. So here I am, I came down. I've been tripping and gone, drunk, stoned, tripping. And I came down. And I'm laying there, and I finally, after another hour or so after I realized I was laying there, I finally got stood up, went back into my dorm room, and tried to get myself back to bed because the speed was just still thrumming in my system. It's like a bass string attached to my heart. I ended up getting in bed. And then I got to thinking to myself, am I really down? And that thought haunted me and still haunts me today. Because I can't be sure that I really came back to the same place I was in when I came down. It's a weird feeling, and if you haven't done hallucinogenic drugs, I'm not suggesting you try it. This is in no way an endorsement of drugs. Like I said, a hallucinogenic drug right now would pretty much put my mind into a state that I would not be able to function even as much as it does today. And God knows it's not functioning all that well right now anyway. Well, that's my story. About how Wild Phil was introduced into hippie culture and into taking drugs. Remember, that was a long time ago. The statute of limitations is long since passed. And that's a good feeling. I know how Bill Cosby feels. This is Wild Phil Jarrett coming at you from the unhappiest state in the U.S. of A., West by God, Virginia.